Okay. Hey, everybody. Thank you very much for attending today's webinar with Coinstash. My name's Robin Holt. I'm here from Virtual, and I am actually really thrilled to be sitting down with you, not only because of the fact that I haven't been too close to this business, but I've been watching it from afar, and you've been doing exceptionally well by gathering a collection of over 1,000 EOIs, but it seems like such an interesting and exciting product at a really exciting time in your industry. So we're going to be going through a presentation today and really just best understanding the business, as well as also going through a Q&A at the very end. And what I'd love everybody to do while we're going through today's webinar is use the Q&A feature as effectively and as many times as you wish to. So go ahead at the bottom and use that Q&A feature to ask any questions. And what we'll be doing is picking them up throughout the webinar and happily asking them. Now I'm going to throw over to the Coinstash team first. And what we're going to do is go through a presentation, which will cover a lot of the background of the business, as well as some common questions, which will also give you the opportunity to ask those questions that you'd like to ask. So without further ado, over to the Coinstash team. Thank you very much for joining us, guys.
Thanks, Robin. Thanks for having this as well. And I'll just start by introducing myself. So I am Mena Theodorou, a co-founder for Coinstash. And we have Ting, Wang, who is a co-founder. And we have our tech lead, Artur Costa, who, there he is, and Felipe, who is our head of growth. Yep, so that introduces us so you understand the team behind the magic that we do. And I'm going to share my screen for this so we can see the presentation. Here we go. Is that visible for you guys?
Perfect.
Yes, very visible. Cool.
Okay.
So thanks, Mena. Yeah, I think I'll probably just do a bit of a introduction about myself as well, and then I'll probably dive into who we are and what our vision is. So firstly, everyone, my name is Ting. I'm the co-founder of Coinstash. I've known Mena for more than 15 years, and we actually went to school together. So I've actually developed a passion for cryptocurrency as early as 2014. So I still remember the first time I came across Bitcoin blockchain. I was just amazed by how genius an idea it was. So when I first read about decentralization, blockchain, public ledger, I'm normally a more skeptical / conservative person, but when I read about that, I was like, wow, that sounds like a very good idea. So Mena and myself, we got together, founded the company back in 2017. We'll talk more about our milestones in the later sections of this event. But long story short, we launched Coinstash, and yeah, there's no looking back. I enjoyed every moment of it. So I guess without further ado, I think we're all here because we're involved in, or we plan to get involved into cryptocurrency one way or another. So I just want to start by really explaining like why we think cryptocurrency is the future and how Coinstash can be part of it. So we live in a world that's becoming increasingly digital, from the emergence of e-commerce to, since COVID, people have been working remotely. There's no doubt that people are getting more and more connected via technology, and globalization is an unstoppable force. However, the issue that we're currently facing with the current financial system is that the supply of money is still somewhat fragmented and still somewhat inefficient. With complex systems, high fees, and there's a number of factors that can cause financial system instability. We have already seen that during the global financial crisis back in 2008, where people's well-being was put at risk because of the systematic failure of the financial system. More recently, during COVID, we're seeing that central banks around the world are adopting some unprecedented monetary easing policies. So last week, I remember President Joe Biden in the United States just passed a $1.9 trillion stimulus package, which is in addition to the trillions of dollars that's already been printed before that. So this overwhelming supply of money has already caused an artificial inflation of asset prices, as we saw in the share market, and more recently, as we are all aware, in the real estate sector as well. So we believe that cryptocurrency and blockchain technology is intended to revolutionize the financial system. With the decentralized solution, the ease of transfer, and most importantly, there's a limited supply of money. We can give many more, I guess, real world case studies a bit later during this session, but we have already seen, as we saw in the past few months, that major cryptocurrencies such as Bitcoin and Ethereum, they're already being adopted by not just financial institutions like Grayscale and JP Morgan, but they're being adopted by corporate giants like PayPal, Tesla, MasterCard. So yeah, and even some local governments such as the city of Miami have taken a very pro-Bitcoin stance. So long story short, we believe that blockchain technology and cryptocurrency is like the internet in its 90s. We probably just stepped out of our infancy and we stepped into its adolescence. So the ecosystem right now, from what I observe, is still dominated by exchanges, and people are still speculating on the prices of various cryptocurrencies. We've seen this back in 2017 during the previous Bitcoin, and we're seeing that once again in the current bull run. So we at Coinstash, it's an Australian exchange that is aimed to bring cryptocurrency to every Australian. So we pride ourselves with two things. We have a very easy to use interface. We want to make that process as seamless for people as possible. And we have a very strong customer support team, which means that we have live support from 9 a.m. to 11 p.m. daily. And that's not very common within the crypto industry at all. But we don't just want to stop there, because we also want to help improve the usability of crypto. So that's the key word there, usability. And that's what we're here to talk about today. Also, I just want to, I guess, briefly talk about my background and why I guess Mena and myself are suited to run this business. So I graduated with a law and finance degree back at university, worked in the financial and professional services industry ever since I graduated, including a top-tier top-tier accounting firm and a US listed payments company. So apart from that, I've also been an investor for a number of years, and my biggest success obviously comes from crypto. I think my background ties in very well with the business we're running, because at Coinstash, our focus is a compliance-driven approach. The industry as a whole is not very dissimilar to the financial services industry, and my experience in payments will further accelerate one of the products that we plan to launch, which we'll cover a bit later in this seminar. Mena, do you want to maybe just give a bit of a rundown about your background and your involvement with crypto since, I guess, 2013?
Well, you answered it for me. But yes, I've been in the crypto space since 2013. Originally, I started out in the cryptocurrency mining as well as actual development team for a particular coin. Didn't go according to plan. I think if you read some of the comments that we've had from people doing their due diligence on that, they've pointed that out. But I'm still proud of the fact that I was part of the early adoptions of cryptocurrency and blockchain technology back then. So yeah, my experience, I'm IT by background. I studied networks as a major, however, self-taught programming. And yeah, so my breadth of knowledge in the crypto space is endless in any type area of there. There's many different things you can do in the space, but yeah, predominantly what we're doing with Coinstash is we're focusing on, at the moment, the trading features of cryptocurrency, and then we're bringing all the new products, the exciting products to Australians, which I'm sure you've heard of, which is the Coinstash Earn, Borrow and Spend. And as Ting mentioned, we'll get into that a little bit later. But I'll let you take the lead now, Ting.
Yeah, thanks, Mena. So like Mena mentioned, and as you can see in front of you, so our vision for Coinstash is not just staying as an Australian exchange, although we're very good at doing that. So our vision is to become the one-stop crypto solution for Australians. And in the long term, we'll even have ambitions to become a world-class fintech platform. So we want to, I guess, achieve these objectives by providing Australians with a single platform where they can do everything crypto related. So right now we have the buy and sell feature. So customers can already buy and sell crypto. I think we have 22 cryptocurrencies listed on our platform. But in the future, obviously this is subject to regulatory approval, but in the future, we want to provide a local and compliant solution for Australians to be able to use 3 more products. So these are Coinstash Earn, Coinstash Borrow, and Coinstash Spend. So Mena, can you maybe dive into the details of those 3 products and how we envision that will help our customers?
Yep. So yeah, Coinstash Earn is somewhat of a system where you earn interest on your cryptocurrency. And I guess traditionally it exists in the global space. A lot of people are aware at the moment there, but it doesn't exist by a regulated Australian entity. So that's where we are going to be different with that particular product. You can basically consider it somewhat of, I mean, I want to say subject to regulatory approval, and the term itself is a bit touchy, but as you have a savings account, you can understand that earning is very similar to that kind of concept. We're going to be taking a little bit more innovative to say that your transactional accounts, so just your account in general on Coinstash, will be earning interest organically without you having to do anything. It will just exist there. This is one of the products we're launching in the future post-raise. The second one is borrow. So borrowing, you can consider it like taking out a loan. If you're looking to use your cryptocurrency without actually selling it, then you can, for example, you can use your collateralized investment and then take out a loan in Australian dollars. So it's a way to, you know, there's certain things that I think Ting will explain this a bit better in a second, but there's certain ways that you can keep investing, but still keep the returns of Australian dollars that you would like to use in other places as well. And the third product is Coinstash Spend. This will be the first Australian, but I think the second globally, well, the second one, if the first one gets executed, Coinstash credit card. Credit card, and it will be Coinstash's credit card, where you can basically, you know, spend, you'll have a card and it'll be very unique. For founders as well, it will be a uniquely styled card, very different to the other ones. And yeah, you basically spend it anywhere in the world, and it's a way for you to start considering this is not just like, I mean, cryptocurrency is an investment, but it is the future for what currencies will be and the digital revolution that we're moving into. So Ting, do you want to explain a little bit more about the benefits of borrowing?
Yes, of course. So just on the benefits of borrowing. So a lot of customers ask us, like, why is there a need to borrow Australian dollars? Well, why is there a need to borrow a cryptocurrency using another cryptocurrency as collateral? Just sounds a little bit counterintuitive for someone who's not familiar with the concept. But there are two key benefits. And then once again, this is already I guess a proven product with some other areas of the world. So people are already using this product. So the two key benefits are, so some people, they might have some cryptocurrency holding. Let's just say you have 10 BTC stashed away. They might not necessarily want to liquidate the assets because right now in the current bull market, people do not want to get out of crypto, right? So instead of forcing people to sell crypto to get some liquidity to buy a house or buy a car, this solution will allow them to take some of the unrealized gains out of their crypto and spending that on items on things that they want to spend their money on. Obviously, there's another reason, which is I think in Australia, there's a CGT concession when you hold certain assets for more than 12 months. And that's another consideration that people may consider. So I think I also see there's a few questions popping up. I think one was how do we compete with BlockFi? So obviously, thanks for asking that question. Obviously, you've done your research around our products and offerings. So BlockFi, as far as I'm aware, is not a Australian-based company. So as we'll dive into later parts of our presentation. So at Coinstash, what we really want to do is to have a compliance-driven approach, even if that means we are a bit slower to the market. With our offerings, once obviously subject to regulatory approval, once our offerings are live, we are aiming to provide a local solution that is built for Australians by Australians. So if anything, so all the risks, I guess, are within the Australian regulatory framework. One concern I always have, and this is from our customers as well, is if I put my money with BlockFi or another competitor that doesn't even have a presence in Australia, and if something goes wrong, what do I do? My honest answer is there's not much you can do, right? So given they are not within the Australian framework. So yeah, that's a long way to answer the question.
Let me just quickly add, I think because I'm presenting, I don't get to see those questions that come up. I didn't see it on my screen, so just let me know if anything that anyone wants, or if you want me to answer something as well.
Yeah.
And also just something in the background of what we're doing is, well, what we have done is we've kind of built our own systems as well to manage what you know, like some people have always asked, how do we generate the returns for the earn product? So we've actually created our own products in the background that run like systems applications that run to create opportunities, and we require liquidity for those different products as well. So when people stake or leave their cryptocurrency in the accounts, then we're able to use those funds as liquidity across the multiple different products that we have like developed in the background. So it's just something to understand, which is pretty cool. I really like the fact that we've done that, and it adds more value to the businesses as well.
Yeah, I guess just to add to that, I saw, there's another question which is related to what Mena just said, which is how do you generate income on something that doesn't have a set return, so such as Bitcoin, when there's a limited supply. Right now, there is a existing demand for people who wants to borrow Bitcoin. So obviously, on the lending side, the flip side of the coin is there must be people who wants to borrow that, and that existing demand is available everywhere. That's already seen all of the major exchanges. So people, they borrow cryptocurrency primarily for the reason of short selling. So short sellers, they are obviously able to provide a return on the cryptocurrency that they borrow because they have they form an opinion on that on the position that they want to take. So that market is already being established, and that's how the current players such as BlockFi is able to execute on this as well.
Cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, next slide. I'll let you start on this one, Ting. I can see your name's written on there. So
sounds good. So yeah, obviously, given my legal background, I think I'm the one who takes up this slide. So at Coinstash, we operate a compliance-driven approach. So what do we mean by that? So we believe in running a sustainable business, and we have always adopted that approach. So just to give everyone a bit of background, we have been registered with Austrac as a digital currency exchange provider as early as April 2018, when that registration first became available. We're aware that the cryptocurrency is an industry where compliance isn't every player's focus. So we've seen time and time again that within our industry, sometimes even major players run into issues with local regulatory bodies. That's because they are growing too quickly. They do not want to comply with the local laws and regulations. And this is just not sustainable in the long run, because we believe that in the long run, regulators will always catch up. And to us, it's all about building a business that's, we do the right things from the beginning and build the business in a sustainable way. In relation to the three products we are looking to offer, subject to regulatory approval, we have already initiated conversations with the ASIC's Innovation Hub to discuss our applications for licensing. And this is still early stage, but what I can say is they're aware of the three products that we plan to offer. So for those of you who aren't necessarily familiar with the Innovation Hub, basically that's a division within ASIC that provides practical support to startups and scale-ups as they navigate Australia's financial regulatory system. So that's a direct quote from their website. So our plan is that the Innovation Hub can guide us through the application process, and hopefully we can reduce the time required to obtain these licenses. I think that's covers.
And I think as a business, we're the first to be taking this process and doing this way, especially from the Australian players. I'm not the global players. I'm not even sure what they're doing, but that's something that shows that we're seeing the future of what Coinstash can become, and we're executing it like the process is now for it to come into eventuation. So that kind of puts us in a position where, once we really, everything comes out for us before other players here in Australia. So Coinstash has a leading edge in that sense, because we're thinking about it now. I don't want to say that too much because I don't want, if any of the competitors are in this webinar, to start thinking like that. But it's fact, and obviously this is why we wanted to give this opportunity to as many people as possible to be a part of our journey for Coinstash.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm not sure if you saw the chat, but there's another question saying that there are people asking about insurance. So I think some people even mentioned names of competitors, saying, look, this competitor has insurance. What about you guys? So this is all part of the plan. So like we are, I think we're being quite clear that these 3 products are yet to be launched, and obviously they're subject to regulatory approval, and this is the reason why we're doing this equity crowdfunding as well. But the part of the plan is also to obviously talk to insurers. I think one of the competitors, they use Lloyd's Insurance back in London, so based in London, so we're acutely aware of that fact, so rest assured. The difficulty that we see sometimes with insurance is the amount insured is not really specific to that particular player. So you may see a large number that appears on their website, but based on my experience, that number is spread across a number of cryptocurrency businesses that they insure. So just be very careful when you do your due diligence and not really drill into what it means by having this insurance on their platform.
Yeah, that's what I will mention as well. So the custody insurance, which is mentioned here, is really just, I guess, another way to say it's a buzz in this space. If you really understand how big this space is, it's not super effective. So we've thought of different ways to be effective in that space, and we have plans in place to offer our own types of foundations to this. So we're already ahead of that, and we've thought up ways, and it'll definitely be public to how we're going to be progressing forward in that space. And it's a lot more safer for customers versus those custody solutions that exist. So.
Hey guys, just so we don't get a little bit too stuck on some of the questions, and to everybody who's asking the questions, I absolutely love them coming in. But we'll probably, I reckon, try and get through the presentation,
Sure.
and then answer the rest of the questions, and hopefully I'll read them out, and we'll kind of go through it that way. But yeah, thanks for everybody who's asking these questions. They're really, really interesting and insightful.
Okay, yep, so we'll move on to the next section, which is expansion into Asia.
Yep, so part of our plan is following the race. We want to be expanding into key strategic locations within the Asia Pacific region. Right now we have Singapore planned, and I'll explain why. So it's attractive to us for a number of reasons. So firstly, it is the financial hub, obviously, for the Asia Pacific region. And many global banks have their APAC headquarters in Singapore. So by having a presence in Singapore, this will allow us to take one step closer to potentially allow our customers to trade crypto with more than just one fiat currency. And that's very important to some people. Secondly, we see that Singapore has a very vibrant crypto ecosystem. Their regulatory authority there is called the MAS, Monetary Authority Singapore. And I think ever since they released that their licensing, there's so many players who are applying for a license there. So by having a presence in Singapore, this will take us closer to the center of action, and will give us some valuable insights and connections as well. Lastly, Singapore is a home to many VCs and also ultra high net worth family offices. So by establishing the connections early, that will help Coinstash to build a presence, I guess, in the capital markets. And then should we need additional funding, not immediately, but maybe in 12 to 18 months time, we can further accelerate our growth. So these are the key reasons for Asia expansion.
Cool. Next is, why should you invest in Coinstash? Now, there are a number of reasons why, and I think the biggest understanding at the moment is the institutional investors seeing the value of cryptocurrency, and more particularly Bitcoin. We're seeing a lot of different spaces now releasing papers about Bitcoin and talking about how it can be used. Some of those players would be a Citibank just from, I think, a week and a bit ago. and obviously the Fidelity Group as well. That's a very big paper if you wanted to read that one. But yeah, basically, why invest in Coinstash? We have basically created a product which is extremely easy to use for customers. It does exactly its purpose for the particular space that we're in, and we're creating innovative products for the future. So we're forward thinking on how we can keep dominating the market. We also have track records behind us. So Ting and myself, Ting is in the financial space, I am in the crypto space for a very long time. So we understand what's required for, I mean, I'm an investor myself as well, so is Ting. So we understand what people are looking for. So we've executed that on the Coinstash platform to date, and we'll keep executing that for the future. Another point which makes us very different is we're not taking shortcuts in what we do. We're taking the time to do a compliance-based approach, which has been mentioned. We're really pushing through and making sure we do everything like formally and in sequence as required. We understand that the Australian market is, I think that Australia is one of the leading countries in terms of keeping things in the right direction for security for the people. So that's why we are ensuring that our products is the same, even though that the cryptocurrency space itself can be considered to be that, you know, kind of a little bit shady, but it's not. So we're proving that it's not through creating this amazing platform. So, yep, I don't know if Ting wants to add some things to that or.
Yeah, I guess the only thing I want to add is yeah, Coinstash, like I mentioned earlier, that it's a good segue. It's a good segue to the next slide anyway. So Coinstash, we've been in this. The company has been around since 2017. So that's before the crypto boom happened in 2017. So we've been bootstrapping ourselves like all the way through. So we've been through one cycle already. So through 2017, we've seen there are a lot of new exchanges coming up, many of them offering very complex features, and then the support wasn't necessarily there. So that's when Mena and myself, we saw an opportunity to build something that's unique and that solves the customers' pain points. So as you guys can see there, so we started as a peer-to-peer cryptocurrency trader. Then we generated a bit of revenue back in the first year of operation, registered with Austrac as early as we could. And we didn't decide just to pay ourselves from that profit. So we decided to reinvest what we made back into the business. And then we built Coinstash and fully launched it in the second half of 2019. We've been very active in the space since then. Our metrics, our key metrics have all exploded in the past 6 months, which I'll cover a bit later. But we have actually been accepted by Austrade to participate in their landing pad program in Singapore. So to us, that's a major, I guess, recognition. In Q3, we signed up first 1,000 users, and that has grown into, I think, over 3,000 users now, the last time I checked on the Coinstash platform. So right now, where our business is at, our business is entirely self-sufficient. So we're quite different in that way compared to many other startups where they still have a cash burn. They're still relying on equity from their founders, friends and family, or equity from early investors. Whereas we are already at a position where we're entirely self-sufficient. We have passed break-even point. Monthly volume, that number there is actually the volume from 3 months ago, but our current monthly volume is sitting at about $3 million now, and we have a monthly revenue of approximately 70,000. So the annual revenue runway right now is just below 1 mil, which is quite significant for a startup. Just to add a few other key metrics to the mix, so our total customers is up 121% from last year. Total transactions has increased by more than 20 times since this time last year, and total volume has increased by just over 30 times. So these are some very impressive numbers here, and it just shows how quickly we've grown since the platform was launched. And
I would have said 25 times from the numbers that I have, but I can see that Ting has the exact value. So yeah, we've seen massive growth since this time last year. And one other thing I will add as well is just the recent, I think it was a Series D for BlockFi, which is
Right.
another competitor in the space. They had, I think it was, correct me if I'm wrong, it was 350 million raised at a 3 billion valuation.
Correct. Yeah.
So I just kind of worked out based on our valuations. I guess it's kind of 2,000 times what we are right now. So if you consider what room for growth Coinstash has, it's somewhere in that vicinity, in my opinion, based on the fact that we're moving in the same direction, we're employing same structured approaches, and Asia is our expansion to begin with, and who knows what we can do from there. What we're doing, which is important, is we're taking the right steps and approaches to it, and really knuckling down to ensure that the foundations are built from the beginning. So yeah, it just to show this, the fintech space and everything inside this digital revolution is the future for where you want to invest your money. So
that's good. Okay, so use of funds. I think everyone is interested to hear, if I invest in Coinstash, how would you be spending my money? So I would like just to start by saying that the numbers in this graph are indicative only. So once I hope everyone has expressed their EOI by now, but if you haven't, feel free to express your interest. So what that allows you to do is to have early access to our offer document, which will outline the exact breakdown. So the numbers here are, like I said, is indicative. So please go by the final estimates once the offer documents becomes available. So as you can see from the graph, so our use of funds are predominantly aimed at developing the 3 new products that we mentioned previously. There's some capital being allocated to geographical expansion. And then there will be some, if we have some left, that will be used as additional marketing resources. So like I mentioned earlier, right now we've already surpassed break-even position, and we're even slightly profitable. So the good news is that all the money that's being raised is used to grow the business. So compared to some other startups who are raising money to cover their existing runway, which means they have a monthly cash burn, we don't currently have that issue. The spending pattern for each of the new products is not very dissimilar. So they would involve items such as license applications, legal fees associated with that. And there's also obviously costs associated with developing the product, and also overheads, such as having a robust treasury function within the business. I think earlier on, there's a question asking about how do you manage risks? And this is the answer, right? We want to be using part of the proceeds to build a treasury function, basically to mitigate the cash flow risks within the business. Also, having a dedicated marketing budget supporting each of the new products is part of our plan. So I guess in summary, the process of bringing these new products to market is a expensive one, but we believe that this is a very worthwhile investment, especially given that Australia is a very highly regulated market. So like Mena said earlier, by taking the right steps and by applying for the right licenses upfront, we aim to put ourselves in a very defendable position. Yeah, back to you, Mena.
Sure. So that's the end of the presentation that we have. So we hope that was informative in any way. And I guess now we look to move into the Q&A. So, Robin.
Absolutely. Thanks very much for the presentation, guys. It was, so fantastic, and it's always so insightful to learn more about your business and really where you've come from. And I absolutely love the compliance first approach that you're taking. I think really you've explained it a lot in detail. People really do love to know the journey of how the founders have got here. You've explained the milestones that you've hit so far. I know that the product is in its development stages. You've got so much wood that you still want to produce and still want to work on. Perhaps if there's anything else to add really to the journey and maybe the mission of how you got here, now would be a great time to really summarize this before we do get into some of the questions and answers.
Yeah, I guess we're all very driven individuals and we work well as a team for what we're doing. So one thing that I really like about the Coinstash team, and so Ting and I, as you know, have been friends for a very long time. So that's an indication that we can work well together as well. And when we've built the team to the core people that we have as working with us, that everyone is given a very holistic and careful, everyone works together well. So that's really helped us to really start pushing and working extra hours, and sometimes people work in this office extra than they should. I mean, sometimes I'm leaving at 7 or 8 p.m. at night, and some people who are still here, and I just look at them, I'm like, hey, why are you here? I'm leaving. So, it's nice to have that type of mentality here, and it gives me like assurance that we got places with this. And yeah, the way that we're doing this particular crowdfunding is different, and it's a first for a lot of people to see this kind of, especially in the cryptocurrency space. There was many ways that we could have raised funds, but we decided to do it this way, and it's purely because we wanted to give as many people the opportunity as possible to invest in something like this.
Yeah,
and that's the real objective for this. And yeah, it's just it's a good way for us to show that we're a community here as well, and we want you to be part of our community.
Yeah, just to quickly add to what Mena is saying. Yeah, I think we have been actually spoken to some professional investors such as VCs and high net worth individuals. There's one feedback they always tell us, oh, it's interesting you're taking down this crowdfunding path, because I'm not sure if that flows our mandate. But I guess from our point of view, it's all about like bringing our name known to many more Australians. So we want to be as inclusive as we can be. And then to date, like you mentioned earlier, Robin, we already received more than 1,000 EOIs. It's actually 1,070 last time I had a look. And there's no signs of that slowing down. So to me, that's a really unique and also humbling experience to see so many people wants to join the Coinstash journey. And yeah, I think in our industry, the word of mouth and referrals is the key, and that's exactly what we're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, for context, I came from the UK and worked in the equity crowdfunding industry there, where it was essentially pioneered. And then 2018, the regulation was passed here in Australia. So it's still in its infancy, and especially when it's understood from an institutional perspective. But equity crowdfunding is the only way in which you can legally combine retail and wholesale investors in this method. And so I absolutely love the mechanism that you're using to grow the business, not only for capital raising purposes, but to really put it on the map. So of course it synergizes with my perspective. I think going to some of the questions here, which we forgot. One of the first questions we've got here is around India and them banning cryptocurrency, and whether or not you think that this is a concern.
I'll probably start, and I think Mena himself is very familiar with India as well, so maybe he can add to that. But yeah, I did read in the news. I think that happened only 48 hours ago, where India released that news that they are looking to ban not just cryptocurrency exchanges, but it goes as far as saying, oh, we're thinking about allowing people to even own crypto. Like, to me, that's a very drastic step, right? Obviously, my background is Chinese. I know how the regulations work in China. So if you compare to China, China has banned cryptocurrency exchanges back in 2017, but owning crypto, like if I want to do like a peer-to-peer trading or owning crypto, that's 100% legal. So to me, the approaching, one thing to note is that this is not the first time that India has released some, I guess, speculation on banning crypto. And I think there's some jokes on Facebook saying this is like the 7th time that India has said so. So I think we need to sit tight and see exactly what's being passed by the legislators in India. So let's not speculate too much. And secondly, we all know crypto is a very decentralized play, right? How do you ban crypto when the whole point is all about decentralization? Especially, I think we are fortunate to live in a democratic society, and I don't think if crypto is what people want, I don't think the rest of the world will follow suit. So that's my view.
Yeah, I guess the regulators in India are just looking for an opportunity to buy in. That's how I see it, and that's something that's really big in India as well. There's a lot of corruption in the country, and it's quite interesting how many times, as you said, it's been banned. And if you look at China, when China banned it the price of Bitcoin dropped back then significantly. I remember watching it. It was even, it happened before that, before 2017 as well. It was back in 2014 as well. The price of Bitcoin was $1,000 and it dropped to around 300 in less than 1 or 2 hours. I remember watching the price fluctuate back and forth. And it's all to do with that uncertainty and fear. Everyone's, I mean, we're talking Bitcoin when it was $1,000, by the way. Like, yeah. So India doing what it's doing is just, they can't stop something that's decentralized. And once obviously there's a lot of, again, corruption, and not just with the government, but with the people as well in India. So they can run different investment yielding items like coins they can release in India, which are not, they're not actually, they have no value. So a lot of people in India are losing money because they're trusting other people. That's a mentality as well. Again, mostly in India, a lot of people trust that they follow in one direction. So the government's just is trying to protect. At the same time, they have their own reasons for doing it. They want to have a piece of the pie. So yeah, it's not going to stick. It's just one of those fads that's happening right now with India. And as you can see from today, the price of Bitcoin straight back up where it should be, because that's just like a temporary, earthquake. It's a slight vibration in the ground. It's nothing. And if you stick with the fundamentals of understanding the whole approach of where cryptocurrency can go and why it can go there, and opening your mind to the idea of it, then there's a lot more growth to occur. And I mean, look at Elon Musk. He's already involved with it from a corporate perspective, probably personal as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, there's so much speculation in the industry, and it's not going to slow down anytime soon, especially with the mass scale and institutional involvement that's come around. So no,
Sure.
I completely concur with what you're saying. Another question as well, and we're getting quite a few questions in thick and fast, which is great, is what loan to value ratio would you use on your lending platform, and what would be the impact of an 80% plus fall in cryptos be on Coinstash and its business model? And this again comes around to the speculation of where cryptocurrency is going versus perhaps the fundamentals and long-term vision.
Sure. I can answer that question. That's not a problem. So once again, I want to caveat this by saying a lot of this detail is actually going to be available in the offer document. So if you haven't expressed your interest now, express it today so you can get early access to it. But just to give a bit of a, I guess, introduction to this. We haven't currently decided on an LVR, but we will. One thing that's certain is we will decide on a conservative LVR. So which means we wouldn't allow people to borrow 80% of their holdings. That's just not going to happen. The second thing is when you talk about the falls in cryptocurrency prices, if you look at what happens in the stock market, like short selling in stocks has been going on for a long time. And the key risk to us is not about the falling in crypto prices, but the key risk is around having crypto prices falling and us not liquidating the assets to basically protect our balance sheet. And to me, that risk can be managed by a number of ways. First thing is there are obviously global exchanges that we have connections with. So it's all about tapping into a very liquid order book. And on that front, we also want to obviously allow this product to be offered on the more liquid tokens first, and then until we get a lot of comfort that this process and the risks have been managed accordingly. So provided that there's a very highly liquid order book, a fall in crypto prices would just mean that the assets will be liquidated to counter that fall. So to us, the fall is not the risk. The risk is any slippage that's associated with it.
Yeah, awesome. And there's another couple of questions which I'm going to combine actually. It's around your liquidity event and whether or not you have intentions to list in the ASX and kind of what happens to the CSF shares in the future. I'll answer the first part of that. So for anybody who's buying into crowdsource funding shares, they essentially are holding shares in a privately owned company, and therefore they are illiquid. So you won't be able to have a mechanism to sell these shares quickly. You really want to think about this as a longer term investment. While the law states that you're locked in for a minimum of 12 months, essentially, the liquidity event is, well, it's at the discretion of the company in the future, but funds raised in this round are essentially being raised to grow the business. And essentially, it is quite difficult to know exactly and pinpoint where an exit event might be. But I'd love to hear a bit more about some of your intentions, as well as obviously comparisons which can be made to other companies.
Yeah, so I think Mena mentioned earlier about how BlockFi, who runs a similar business model to what we plan to release, has just recently raised their Series D, and obviously that's on a very high valuation. So what we plan to do in terms of a liquidity event, once again, like you said, Robin, this probably is not likely to happen in the short term, but in the long term, the way we have built up our company is all about compliance driven, and we have, I believe, by investing in these licenses early on, puts us in a very not only just defendable position, but also makes us a fairly attractive target for potential acquisition. So one thing that I can see that may happen in the future, obviously it may happen, is that we may get acquired by one of the major global players. And given Australia is a very, I guess, active crypto demographic, and we have already seen activities in the past. For example, Kraken acquired BitTrade back in 2019, and then there's a few others I wouldn't list them one by one. But yeah, that's one of the potential exit possibilities. People have also asked me, do you plan to list on the ASX, for example? I can only say that that is a possibility, but yeah, I think a trade sale is probably more probable.
Let me just add on listing on the ASX as well. We're in the crypto space, so if you consider what the potential of what we can do in terms of listing, in the future there is talks that we've had in regards to releasing a token which is an equity type product. So it doesn't need to be on the ASX; it can be on the crypto market itself, and that's where we may see in the future for different things happening with Coinstash. I don't want to talk about it too much because it's very much vague in the future, but it's a very modern way to approach a listing, and it will be mentioned in the future as well.
Absolutely. I'm just going to stop your screen sharing as well, just so everybody can see us a little bit easier.
Sure, I can do that if you like.
No problem at all. I've just set it up, so perfect. I think that rolls into a question really well that we had on the side that we've had come in, and that's around, BlockFi. They've obviously just raised funds at a very high valuation, and you've talked about a lot of differences in the way that you're approaching the growth of this business. But what has in tying that traction in with your business as well, what sets Coinstash apart from your competition? I mean, you've mentioned some points, but perhaps there's other points that you want to mention, or maybe just summarize exactly what you've covered already.
Yeah, Mena, do you want me?
Yeah, Ting. Yep, you can.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so I think first and foremost, right? I think we are an Australian platform, and to me, it's a very very important point of differentiation, and that's fundamental to what we are pitching here. The fact that BlockFi has raised a lot of money and they are having a existing product out there, I don't think that we are extremely worried about that because of two reasons, right? One is obviously they're not local, and secondly, I think the concept of earning on your crypto, borrowing using your crypto, and spending using a crypto card is still very early days. So I think most people are familiar with the concept of buying and selling crypto, but these products, in my eyes, are still very relatively new. So as long as we aim to become one of the first Australian platform to apply for the right licenses and to do things the right way, I'm quite comfortable about our position within the industry, and then yeah, the value add there.
And I mean, just on the subject of, you know, what sets us apart as well, on other aspects is we're taking a bit more understanding of how to reach our target audiences as well. I will add that Felipe, I'm not sure if everyone knows this, but his previous role was directly with a very large competitor. Bitcoin.com was where he previously was focused with. So his expertise in the marketing sector is really helping us to understand how to reach our audience. And so there's a lot of combinations of where we can see Coinstash doing well. It's not just about the products you release, it's about reaching the customers as well. And we're trying to tackle from all different angles. And yeah, it's working so far. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. No, that's fantastic. And I think another really important question that I'd love to advance on, and I think this is for all of you as well as Arthur to be able to kind of chime in on, because we hear a lot about the innovation and advancement of cryptocurrency in the industry. And obviously it's hard for the initial, like, everyday user to really see the benefits. But if you compare it to traditional products, what are the trends that are happening in the current financial system? And if you're involved in the cryptocurrency space and you really do understand the mechanics of how everything works, maybe this is clear already. But I think a breakdown of the current financial industry versus crypto and why we see such strong growth in this in the future is really important to understand. So whoever wants to go first, answer away.
Yeah, I guess the current financial system is, I believe, from my perspective, that it's on its last legs of stability somewhat. Like most of the time, a lot of people refer to, in case anyone doesn't know, but fiat is considered your currency word for Australian dollars or US dollars and all of that. You're seeing a lot of different amounts of fiat being printed in different countries, and you're seeing I mean, yeah, that particular stable word associated with fiat is, to me, is at the moment what the general consensus is for people, because they don't really understand anything else. But I feel as though we're going to see a massive change in that. The traditional financial systems, yeah, they're not innovative in what they do. They're just doing the same thing. And to be honest, we're seeing in the background for some of the new financial systems that have come out, such as NPP, so the next payments platforms, you might know of it as PayID or OSCO is the other word they use for it. That system, if you start to knuckle down and understand who's behind it, you realize it's actually the same people, but they're just looking for ways to keep above the market in that sense. So like there's the Visa and the MasterCard payment processes. Those are now outdated ways. I mean, it's still the most popular form of payment, but it is outdated for what we're doing. And we're going to revolutionize that completely. And how we approach things, we're going to change the way that people see, you know, their finance. So yeah, it's very outdated, and it's falling behind, and it's just a matter of time until everyone starts to agree with me. But the facts are there, so you can read them, and I can share with you if you want more information on that. Just ask me personally, send me an email, and I'll respond to you exactly in full detail what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I think to me, I think there are two key words. One is the fragmentation. Another word is inefficiency. So I think those two words probably describe the current financial system very well. I mean, we're in the 21st century, everything is becoming digital, but some people still struggle, for example, to even send money across borders. I think Arthur, you probably yesterday were telling me you had I think you had friends back home who had very bad experiences with trying to remit money. Maybe you can share something there.
Yeah, so that's right. Like, so basically, maybe like 1 week ago, 2 weeks ago, like people from Brazil couldn't send money using TransferWise, which is like the go-to platform in Brazil. So basically, like they lost a bank partner, and Brazilians couldn't send money. So all over like the Brazilian communities I'm part of, like from Facebook, WhatsApp, like you're telling like, how can I send money overseas? And one thing is like you could easily send using Bitcoin. So Bitcoin provide like some good things like it's stressless, so you don't need any KYC. It could send like the transactions within minutes or hours instead of waiting for up to 3 days. And you can send money to anyone, anywhere, anytime. Like it doesn't matter. That's one of the beauties of like Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies in general.
Yeah, so the backbones of the banking systems, they can really disrupt a space. And obviously the TransferWise, that company had a huge hit from that event that happened. And it's instantly causing massive issues for the community, which, you know, it doesn't happen that way in a decentralized environment.
Yeah, it could take like 1 day, 1 week, 1 month to get another bank partner. We have absolutely like no clue. And yeah, that's it.
Absolutely. So we've got quite a few
I'd like
questions.
to say,
Oh, sorry, carry on, Flake.
yeah. Just one more thing. One of the things that is important to know, and just in general when you're in this space, as Mena mentioned, I come from many years already for dealing with blockchain companies, and most of it, say 90% of it, is actually dealing with the clients themselves. So what I've really realized, and what I've known this pretty much, I picked this off very start, we have to understand, and one of the things that we want to bring up in Coinstash is being really customer centric, because most of the people, I would say even 95% of the people that come into this, they don't really know much what to do about Bitcoin. Some people, we really realize, like, not just Bitcoin, I'm just talking about cryptocurrencies in general. So you see a lot of people come in, and we saw this in the 2017 bull run. They spend money and they spend, their savings funds, and then they realize that they don't really understand what to do next, right? So they feel that there's a lot of information that, obviously people right now trying to look for different types of sources and try to understand how exactly they can use it. What we want to do and what we want to build with Coinstash, as Mena mentioned very, earlier, we want to be, make sure that the customer is at the very fundament of everything that we do. We want to make sure that we are able to, customers can come out and reach out to us and ask us about this. We're not looking to, go, put everything out there just to get clients. We understand that there is a certain customer journey that everybody goes with. And in the long run, when people look around, and I'm sure that, there's people that trade in different platforms, but when it comes to that specific customer approach within Australia and understanding the Australian payment, payment methods, things that happen within borders of Australia, it is something very key. And that's what we hope to do as we expand to other countries. We want to keep that because we believe that's what's really going to, help us grow. It's this word to mouth, and obviously communication, education. It all starts from there. And we're seeing that also overseas. This is also very something that governments really appreciate. It's not just going out there and trying to do everything possible to get as many clients as possible, putting coins that don't have liquidity. So we are really taking that responsibility, and like I said, it's something that's appreciated by most.
Absolutely. I just wanted to mention that as we come up to 1 o'clock, for anybody who does have to go, we will be sharing the recording with everybody who's here. We've still got a number of questions here, and as everybody's already attended and asked these questions, we'd love to get through these and hopefully be as swift as we can with them. But if anybody does have to go, you have comfort knowing that you can catch up and watch the recording at a later date. So if we just go back to the questions here, which we've got from all the attendees, a really interesting question here, asking essentially what the plan B is if regulatory approval for lend, earn, and invest products don't come in. I'm sure you've had this from a number of investors. So over to you guys.
Yeah, so I would like to start by saying that if you look at our current product, so just to set the facts straight, we do have a current product, which is the exchange product. Right now, like I mentioned earlier, we are already being self-sufficient. We're fully self-funded from that product already. And the room the room for growth in that space is phenomenal, because if you look at the number of customers we have, and if you look at the trading volume that's currently on Coinstash, and if you look at our growth trajectory in the past 12, especially in the past 6 months, there's still a lot of room to grow. And so what, even if the regulatory approval doesn't go ahead, there is still a lot of areas where we can be supercharging our growth, even just on our current exchange product. So the places that we can be looking at include obviously releasing more features, releasing more coins to the exchange. I think Mena can probably cover a bit of his current roadmap later on. And also I think we only recently we really dived into that, having a serious marketing effort towards making our name known to many more Australians. And I think this equity crowdfunding campaign is going to be a huge boost to our presence in Australia.
Yeah, just on that, in terms of what we can offer besides, I mean, there are many things that we're working on, and just generally improving our products and implementing ways for people to invest in ways like automated investments, so to say, so you don't have to think about it so much, as well as the ability to speculate as you like. And the amount of coins that we will have on Coinstash in the near future will be more than any other exchange or broker platform that exists in Australia. We're working towards building, it needs to be in both ways. It can't just be a regurgitation of everything. It needs to be in a way where, like, you know, this is what you can consider if you're not someone who's in the space, and this is what you consider, like, this is what you see if you want to have fun and start working on becoming a full-time crypto investor. There's a lot of different communities out there in the cryptocurrency space that you know, they want different things, but yeah, we're going to offer it all, and it's done in a way that as long as our competitors aren't listening to like what we're doing straight away, but it'll be done in a way that only we can do, because we're thinking about it in this way. So, like, it's not as I said, there's the traditional centralized exchanges that exist, and the broker platforms, but there's a whole separate space out there. There's decentralized spaces as well, which exist, and we're very much on top of that and working with different teams in the decentralized space to bring products to Coinstash. So those things happen organically, and they're just going to really further add to this whole system that we have. And yeah, it's quite interesting. I won't talk about it too much, because that's not what we're raising for. We're raising for these particular products, and those are just icings on the cake. And it's better to bring those out and to see the customers respond to that, rather than for our competitors to learn too early about it. I mean, this is Coinstash's business, and we're going to make it worth something. So
yeah, absolutely. And we'll try and whiz through some of the questions that remain. And this question, I'm not too sure if it's completely determined and defined yet. At an early stage, it's constantly fluctuating. But somebody's asked what your customer acquisition cost is.
Yeah, so I can speak to some numbers, and I think maybe Felipe can add to what I have. But right now we're seeing about, look, there's a few channels to market. And as I mentioned earlier, in the crypto space, it's not just about throwing marketing dollars out there and throw it at Facebook and acquire customers that way. To date, we find our most successful marketing channel is actually through referrals and word of mouth, right? So we want to focus on our referral program, and we are in the process of having a rewards/affiliate program. So the cost of acquisition there, you can say that's almost a free acquisition. Apart from that, we also have plans. Sorry, we already started putting advertisements on Facebook, and we've invested into search engine optimization. Right now, I'm seeing between around $20 per sign up, and that's just that's in line with the current appetite for the industry. But I guess as we scale, obviously this crowdfunding campaign is a huge part to that scalability. As we scale, I think there will be more people who come to us through that word of mouth referral.
Yeah, absolutely. And somebody else here has asked if you're looking to tokenize eventually, and if so, will airdrop be in conversation?
Let me answer that one.
Yeah.
I did touch on it before. So there is a yes to a maybe, because I don't want to talk about it too much.
Yeah.
And in terms of, there is a potential for us to work in that way. And when it comes to airdrops, you know, if we consider the coin, if you were to consider the coin to be somewhat of an equity product, and there was something to be paid out the same way that you have a stock exchange and a dividend in the future, that's potentially how an airdrop can be considered potentially.
Yep.
So there is definitely a lot of discussions and room for movement in that space, and yeah, it's definitely very innovative ways to do things, and we're very much aware of how to do it as well, because I mean, yeah, and doing it the right way as well, because there's regulations and compliance you need to have for these kind of things. So there's a lot of lawyer integrations into this, which we've already engaged, and the lawyers, appropriate lawyers for those kind of things.
Yeah, the process is called security token offering, and we are aware that's a possibility, but that's something to be discussed in the future.
Yeah, for sure. And the next question we've got here is, when are you looking to raise capital? Obviously, the live offer is looking to go live next week, and that's for everybody who has submitted an expression of interest will receive access to the early private phase of the investment offer. So if you are interested in getting in early and you haven't already submitted an EOI on Virtual, please head there now and submit your expression of interest to be in the loop, basically, with access to the private offer. How much you expressed between 1.5 to 2 million, but your maximum and minimum targets will be displayed in your offer document. And also, the last part of this question is around your capital history and how much you've actually had injected into the business so far.
Yeah, so I can answer that question. We, like I mentioned earlier, Mena and myself basically bootstrapped the business from the beginning. So in 2017, during the last market cycle, we actually, we are an interesting startup because we were profitable from day one. So from that year, we were able to bootstrap ourselves through the crypto winter that is to follow in 2018, 2019. We also built the Coinstash product entirely from our own resources. So we had basically today no capital injection. The cap table is as clean as it looks, just Mena and myself, and then that's that. So no complications whatsoever.
Obviously, there's been challenges along the way, for that particular way of doing things, but it just means you have to work extra hours. So that's basically what we've been doing. So, and it's great. I mean, there's no complaints. As I said, everyone's always working here till sometimes later than me. And I mean, sometimes I'm here until 11 p.m. at night, and still there's people in the office with me. So it's interesting how that, again, mentality, everyone's following a similar vision to what we want to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And we've had another question around how investors will receive a return. Hopefully I've explained this in enough detail, just in terms of how you'll basically be holding shares in a privately held company. They will be illiquid, so you won't be able to receive an initial return, and it will be at the discretion, of course, of the company. Further in the future, I absolutely know you guys would love to provide a huge return for shareholders, but it is very speculative at this stage to be able to determine a timeline and price, of course. But the aim, no doubt, is to provide a return to shareholders, whether that be through a number of different mechanisms. I'm sure that you'll just evaluate them when the time comes. I don't know if you wanted to touch on anything else in regards to that question, as you've already answered it for the most part.
I think so, unless Ting wants to say something.
No, I'm good. I'm happy to move towards the next one. Yeah.
Fantastic. And another question which has come in, will Coinstash basically become a bank? I know that positioning and where you're going is that
a borderless fintech solution is the correct way to determine it.
Yeah. So that's a very interesting question because as you can see, we are I think for legal reasons, we can't call ourselves a bank unless we have the right licenses, which are authorized deposit institutional license. But if you look at competitors in the space, such as BlockFi, their vision is basically to provide a parallel system to the current financial service sector, but in the cryptocurrency space. So that's what our competitors are envisioning.
Yeah, right.
I think even modernizing this, what you can consider a bank to have is more traditional products, and we're in a modern space for this. So we're starting with a very modern approach with everything that Coinstash will offer, and potentially moving backwards from there into the traditional products that you are very aware of that banks offer. I mean, the same products exist with the bank, but what I'm talking about is, the banks do home loans and they collateralize with those type of traditional assets. We're not in that space just yet, and we may move there in the future, but it's also subject to a lot of different lawyers. Let's just say lawyers need to start on that process, and we're already starting on it. I must admit. So there is progress in different directions for that kind of stuff as well.
Yeah, awesome. And we've had a really interesting question here about being compliance focused. Are there any concerns with expanding to multiple countries requiring different frameworks and compliance issues? No doubt you've been through this in extensive detail. So yeah, I'm sure this is a question that you've answered before.
Yep. So basically our plan is, so if you look at the use of funds in the offer document, our plan is to initially be only offering the 3 products in Australia. So initially we're very focused on the Australian jurisdiction, but when we expand to places such as Singapore, I think initially our plan is to expand over there with an exchange product, which is going to be, I guess, the entry point for any players. But from there, we'll aim to establish a relationship with the local regulatory authorities, such as I think in Singapore is the MAS. We've already done our research as to what's required. So similar to Australia, it's not an easy process, but the good news is you've done it already once in Australia, and if you want to expand to other developed countries, the process is not too dissimilar. Obviously, you still got to go through the hurdles, but there can be some synergies there. Sorry, Mena, were you going to say?
I was just going to say one thing on that. We found that in terms of compliance and I guess KYC processing in Australia, it's one of the highest levels of KYC that you're required to do and understand your customers in that process. Yep. So we're already starting at a very high level for that. And a lot of other countries we've discovered, if we wanted to expand into those countries, we're not needing to do as much as what we do here. So it's actually good to start here and to build the fundamental, especially because we're here as well. So.
Of course. And we've just got a few questions to get through. Thank you, everybody who's sticking around well after the time. We should hopefully wrap this up very soon. But I absolutely, love the approach to that. And, somebody else here, Denzel, has said they're adamant about being in this for the long term, but how I'll be able to track the progress on my investment. Just from a regulatory standpoint, I'll answer this one. So what will happen once you have come on board as an investor is you'll be then injected into a share registry provider after the raise. And what will happen is that share registry provider will allow you to go in, see any updates on Coinstash. Of course, Coinstash will be providing an annual report as a requirement, but I have no doubt that you'd love to communicate to your shareholders more frequently than this. However, your share registry provider will be a central location whereby you can actually track some, key company updates and see what the company has been up to, as well as receive at least an annual report at the minimum to really just understand what the company has been up to, the financials and the progress to date.
Yeah, and we're all about transparency. So, I mean, we want to communicate with our stakeholders on a regular basis. So like you said, Robin, I don't think once a year is enough. We want to be communicating to our stakeholders more frequently. And even if they want to reach out to me directly, I mean, I'm always I'm all ears. So
Awesome.
Ting has a talent of only sleeping for 6 hours a day. I still need 7. So he does it. I'm not sure how he does it, but he's always on. He's the always on button on him.
Yeah, right.
So
yeah. Awesome. We've had another question. There's been a similar one earlier. Do you plan to provide tax reports for clients? I know you started on this one earlier, and kind of covered it a little in a little bit of detail through the presentation.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think providing a tax report is technically challenging. I think if you look at our vision, we aim to be obviously almost emulating the financial services industry. And I've seen if you are, for example, if you are currently managing your wealth through a wealth manager, you have those tax reports. So I think in the crypto industry, everyone should be getting their tax reports and with just a click of a button. So I think that's definitely on the roadmap.
Absolutely. And somebody else has asked, top 3 bullet point USP over Aussie-based providers like Digital Search or SwiftX?
Yes. So basically the 3 key things is we want to provide so our key USPs are having an easy to use interface. I think a lot of our competitors, as they grow, as they have more features, their dashboards gets clunky and the new customers don't know what to do. And we are there to basically handhold them with a very easy to use interface. The second key difference is we have live support from 9 a.m. to 11 p.m. daily. And I think that's something that's very rare and that's very valued by our customers. In the future, we even plan to extend this into like a 24/7 live support, which means for all the newcomers into crypto, that's very, it's almost like a concierge service. The third thing is, just escaped my mind now. I was thinking about the third. Yeah, the third unique point is,
well, we're releasing the products that we're releasing don't exist in these other exchanges. And the way that they're transparent on how they do things is a little bit different to how we're doing it. I think they're not super. I mean, I'm not trying to go against them. I think they're running good businesses as well. But I guess, yeah, there's more transparency, I believe, with how we're approaching things.
Yeah, I was going to say transparency because if you look at the Coinstash current product, we just have what you see is what you get, right? You don't get any hidden fees. For example, there's one global player. You look at the price, it's one price. When you actually check out, it's a different price. That's 5% higher. We don't want to do that. So what you see is what you get. Transparency is key to us.
Yeah, right. That's awesome. That's awesome. And we've just got 3 questions left, so I'll just really quickly go through these. Ian here has asked, Bitcoin is currently experiencing hyperinflation. Obviously, some people see that this is, the case for cryptocurrencies. Obviously, this is it's a point of view held by some, asking why would somebody want to spend their Bitcoins on everyday products that could potentially cost them 25% plus an opportunity cost a week or a month later. Obviously, this is a viewpoint on cryptocurrency and whether or not you hold a long-term view and cryptocurrency being a stable currency.
Yeah.
Let me answer this one real quick, just to say, yesterday I did a podcast with Fear and Greed, and this was the question was like, Bitcoin, what is Bitcoin? Originally a currency intended to be a currency, but now it's considered a store of wealth. So it's considered something like gold. So yeah, your opportunity cost, if you sell it, is, you're losing there. But what we're doing is we're enabling use of cryptocurrency with the products we're releasing. So it means that you don't have to sell it. So the opportunity cost is negated to some degree. You don't lose your investment in it. And if you consider, like, no one trades with gold, it's not a common thing. So, I mean, maybe some people do, but not the people that I know. So, that gives you understanding that we've already understood that, and we understand that's not what people want. So already addressing it.
Yeah, absolutely. And another question, what will happen in the future if there are further capital raises, and will we be able to participate?
Yep, it depends on the direction that the company takes in its next capital raising. So I can't make any promises here, but what I want to say is if there's another crowdfunding opportunity, or if there's even a security token offering, obviously that's subject to regulatory approval. Obviously, we would treat our current investors as the first point of contact. So rest assured. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, awesome. And somebody else has asked around the development team and whether or not they're located here or overseas.
Here in Australia.
Awesome.
We've had, not to do with Coinstash, we've had association with development teams in other countries in the past. We find that it's not a matter of, we find that the attention to detail here in Australia is far exceeding. There are some European countries which you find that type of detail. but it's better to work with a local environment, especially in the financial space. We've stuck with Coinstash from the beginning to be local only because it's a financial product. So the way that I restrict certain things in the systems and how you can access certain things is only from particular. That's just one way of doing it, one location, which is a lot. Like, you know, I'm next to the people and I'm breathing down their neck just in case they want to look left without asking me first, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
So,
absolutely. And look, I think the questions here are just so great, and it's such a fantastically exciting space that you're in, and a time to be doing it as well. Having gotten to the end of the questions, I know that some people will have some further questions. There will be an opportunity to ask these ahead of the offer opening next week. However, for anybody who has come to the end with us, thank you very much for coming to the end of the webinar. Guys, is there anything else that you think we haven't covered and you would just love to cover off in a final, I guess, closing speech?
Yeah, I guess I just want to emphasize that once again, that this equity crowdfunding campaign with Virtual is a very unique experience for us. And I hope it's going to be a very unique experience for our investors. There aren't many exchanges, and there definitely aren't many Australian exchanges who's currently doing this by this process. The beauty of it, you can start investing with as little as $50. So yeah, make sure you express your interest today, get an early access to the offer document.
Fantastic.
Yeah, Ting basically said what I want to say as well. This is an opportunity that we're allowing a lot of people into something, and it's not something we had to do. We decided to do it this way. So
awesome. Well, it's always great to hear that, and it's always great to sit down and have a chat with any founders and really learn their story without, you know, obviously having the benefit today of having the founders and you know, team on board. So guys, it's been an absolute pleasure to really understand your business a lot better in this webinar. For everybody who's attended, thank you so much for tuning in. We'll send you the recording shortly, but if any other questions come through regarding the offer, you can always email me on robin@virtual.com, and I will endeavor to get back to you. Thanks very much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
thank you so much, Robin, and thank you everyone for attending and
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone.
for this.
Bye, everyone. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.